Hey, one and all, it's your pal Drew. I got more comics for my spinner rack. I was going to start my episode. I thought about doing it with the squeak of a spinner rack, but it's pretty sharp, and if you're not braced for it, it can be super annoying. So, especially if someone's listening with earphones, it might just blast their ears out. So I decided not to. I'm going to try and work on a theme at the beginning because just to add a little sparkle. So Rock and Roll Comics. Last year I covered a mini-series by Rock and Roll Comics which was devoted to the Beatles. It was an 8-issue series and started from very early days, like childhood of the Beatles, to the breakup, the solo years, John getting shot, and then beyond that. And it's pretty cool. And they covered a lot of bands. They started off with Guns N' Roses, and they did like Bon Jovi and that, and they were facing lawsuits, but unauthorized and proud of it. Revolutionary Comics, they won out because it's every bit as authentic as a paperback biography about, even unauthorized ones, and also documentaries that are unauthorized. So there's plenty of them. So comics are just as legit. And Todd Loren is the one who started this this line, and it was very successful. Now the quality of the arts of the art really switches. They have an Elton John one, and I love Elton John, but man, oh man, the art is oofa. It's awful. But I'm sorry I won't name names. But this guy here, I'll wait till I get to him. This guy does beautiful work. His name is Greg Fox, written by J. Allen Stanford and letterer by Susan Dorn. I don't recall who Greg Fox is, but if you could come up with something in the comments below, I'd appreciate it. But look at the clean line. I mean, you can see some photo reference, obvious, but it works. It works. This guy knows how to make a story flow. He has him in the foreground. Background, that's something that's desperately missing in a lot of modern comics. I know I'm a grumpy old man by saying that, but that shows how good you are, and by doing such, it doesn't even mean like you don't even have to put backgrounds in every page. It's just that you have the goods, and this is really great. Mike Allred did a biography of Bowie in a big graphic novel format, and it's great too. But they came out, I don't know, 10 years ago or so. But this came out, like 20, 30 years prior, and of course, you use the occasional cover photo because you want to tie things into the artist, the creator. I mean, and there's a lot of, just like any biography, there's a lot of supposition about what they might have said privately, although like through interviews. Now that if I didn't even know that was Iggy Pop, I would know it was Iggy Pop from the looking of it. It's just, that's him. There's one Iggy and a Ziggy. So this looks very Mike Allred. But Mike Allred he was just starting up Madman and getting his feel, and this guy's line work is tighter. So there's John Lennon. They're collaborating on Fame. Really beautiful stuff. Yeah, I might have to reread this tonight. So definitely not the end. Here's a Kiss collection. So really enjoyable stuff. In fact, I can't remember the first one I picked up. I think it was Queen, and that had good art in it too, but by somebody else. So anyway, back to the land of superheroes, giant size Avengers. Now, I missed this on the newsstands, just barely. I got the story that came right after it, which was Avengers 130. So it was the aftermath of the death of the swordsman. So I never really got to know him other than later reprints in Marvel Triple Action where he was the villain, but he was never a hard-ass villain. He was like a rogue. So years and years ago, I managed to get this in, at Conley's Motor Inn, probably in Monroeville, in the late 70s, almost 80. And I'm like, that's a great cover. Of course, I've seen it before. And then, oh my God, Hawkeye, my man Hawkeye, one of my top 5 characters of all time in a comic, Steve Englehart story. Tom Orzechowski, still fairly new, but he's been around. Bill Mantlo, colorist. And I like to impress upon people that that's sort of how you start. You do building blocks for somebody with talent. You know, you let them on like smaller production situations and make them familiar, like why you have to have the letter balloons and why are the right place, why you have to color the background colors, not compete. But this is like a Hawkeye story, and it's wonderful. And it's pencils and inks by soon-to-be legendary Dave Cockrum. Because this came out November of '74, so half a year later he did Giant Size X-Men and knocked everybody away. Yeah. And then Swordsman shows up. He was left behind because Kang considered Swordsman like a joke, and Swordsman's taking it personally. He says, but I probably should go along for now. Sword really sounds out of it in a dream world. He's not a bosom buddy, but I don't want him to be kicked off the deep end. And he goes, but then we were Carnival Hands. Now we are the Avengers. So these droids are capturing Iron Man, Vision, and Thor, and somehow use their powers to, 3 different power sources. You just call power. That's how it went back then. It's like, okay, a power is a power. Even though his is mechanical, his is a whole body of mechanism, and Thor is a thunder god. So how you would make those adaptable, it's comics. Beautiful stuff here. Beautiful stuff. Lovely. That background with, how about that? I love the texture on that Ramatut stuff. So they gradually take down one after another and free the people on the inside. And there's Mantis and Scarlet Witch yelling about the Vision. Listen here, I've been going through a rough time discovering myself. The Vision understands. In this one's land, a woman is taught to discover her man. So who are you, Marco Polo? If you hadn't been so intent on exploration, your first man wouldn't be in the shape he's in. And yeah, it got a little nasty, but it was really neat stuff. Really cool group. Man, there's Iron Man, another one of my top 5 characters. And you got that beautiful, beautiful spread. And this, they should make a poster of this. They really should. Or use it as promotion for the upcoming Doctor Doom movies. They screwed up Kang, but I still think Kang would have been good if they kept that. Oh, look how the Swordsman's just kind of having a hard time taking things in. Well, Kang's about to kill Mantis. He steps in the way, and they vanish, but the Swordsman dies. Now, some of this, I think towards the end, I'm pretty sure that Neil Adams and the Krusty Bunkers, all the people who worked at his studio, pitched in, because that's not Dave Cockrum inks. And it's like, I'm a failure. Just one of those people doesn't count. Every Avenger counts, Swordsman, everyone. Rest in peace. Got that, baby. When it first came out, it blew my mind. And here's what I loved about the Giant Size books. There would be like a 30-page story in the front, then they would have a reprint in the back that may not be the same book, but it relates to the first story. So that's what was really cool about it, because there's no mention of Kang per se, and that comes later. That was something people developed over time, and I always loved Dick Ayer's inking of the Thing. He looks like a bunch of peach pits. It just has a lot of fun, a lot of Okay, there you go for that. Ah, so delicious, delicious. Now we go to, from the awesome to the So this is penciled by Carson or Larson, and text Boxwell. At first, I thought it was like a Mike Plug, just because of the eyes and stuff, and maybe some of the drapery, or what's that guy's name? Tom? No, yeah, Sutton. Yeah, but it's not. And this came out in 1978, which is sort of the end of the original stories. They start going all reprint, if this isn't one already, with a new cover. What I find really fascinating is R. Ingersoll. Now that's got to be Robert Ingersoll, who had a long time article in the weekly fanzine, collectible zine called Comics Buyer's Guide. And he was a lawyer, and he wrote stories. No. He would go over comic stories, and like the trial of the Flash and some other stuff, and he would pick apart the stuff that wasn't true to, you know, the courts and the lawyers, you know, because I mean, Cary Bates was just kind of winging it, you know. It's hard to really fully understand, but you know, Ingersoll, he's got a degree as a lawyer, so of course he would know more. Maybe he could have been consulted, but you know, people were still getting into it. But I just found that interesting. And here's our host. Gotta have a host for these comics. Now, I don't know who this artist is. It's good, but it's kind of stodgy, and there's no real mood. It's just sort of there. And like I said, the story is kind of toned down, but there could have been ways to. See, I spoiled it. You get some, but it's like all the other stuff before. If you get a story that's mostly talking heads, you have to really be inventive to make it interesting. You know, even if it's just like there's some people who will just draw an elaborate background and have somebody, you know, like that. So I don't know who did this. Some of you in the comments may know below, but this is masterful stuff. Masterful, because Charlton wasn't big on giving credit. But that line work, that's the kind of shit I would love to do, but pencilers like to be traced. They don't like to be inked. At least in the last 20 years, sadly. That's a great image up there with the antlers. And you know, there's the shading and the mood, which was missing, because this isn't really much more exciting than the first story. It's just that all this cool jazz is going on, and it makes it look edgy. Like you want to turn the page. How about that? And when I bought that, some dickhead cut this page out. They got the Comic Book Guide of Artist, Writer, Letterer of Charlton Comics, which I hear is pretty good. Steve Ditko, probably, I don't know, maybe he is. It might be a new one, because it was only in '79, I think, a year later, that he went back to Marvel to do Machine Man and a couple of annuals and stuff. So his stuff's always fun. And then there's the text page to allow for. That's cool. Yeah, it's an illustrated short story, which was a big, since the beginning of comics in the late 30s, because then you can qualify for second class mailing, which is cheaper than regular mailing. So I love finding stuff like that. Okay, now, just got this in the mail because I was missing it. I sold my collection way back in '86, and little by little I'm getting parts of my collection back, and some of the books I'm not interested in getting back, so it's kind of a relief that way. You know, it's like I don't have to buy every single issue. If there's a run of a book that I felt jumped the shark and never came back, yeah, you know, like the 2 years before Walt Simonson did Thor are just garbage. They're just painful, and you know, I was collecting them, waiting for the book to get better, and eventually did with Simonson. But woo-wee, it was a lot of crap. You know, it was just. And then before that, you had Roy Thomas spend like 3 years on the what is it, the Ring of the Nebula or whatever, that tying in the opera to Thor, and it just became like a lesson, a school lesson. Okay, I'm getting off point. Spider-Man and Frogman, written by J.M. DeMatteis and penciled by Kerry Gamble and inked by Mike Esposito. Spidericus idioticus, Frogius Metatulicus and the White Rabbit. And this is a Paul Smith cover. I didn't know that until recently, but I could sort of see it. So this is one of Kerry Gamble's. His body language is so great. And it's funny because J.M. DeMatteis, he's known for serious stuff when he did Captain America with Mike Zeck and John Beatty, and then also The Defenders with Don Perlin. But once in a while, he'll do something wacky like this, which would kind of portend his later, in the 80s, run of the legendary Justice League with Kevin Maguire and Keith Giffen. So, while like Defenders was all agonized and stuff like that, just real, he had, like I said, this is one of the things I told you about his sense of humor, or alluded to it. She has carrot spears. And this kid's here having ice cream, and he's like, this gives me a heck of a good idea. Well, in an early issue of Marvel Team Up, this kid, he wore the leapfrog costume that his father used for crime. His dad showed up first in the leapfrog costume in like Daredevil 24, 25, and then he showed up in like a Daredevil annual, and I don't think they really used him beyond that because it's kind of absurd. But for the time, it was terrific fun, especially with Gene Colan drawing it. So he's taking all these people out just because he can't control his springs. And Spidey shows up. I like that. He whips that one guy in web, and then he just spins him around like tops. See, we're going back. He accidentally took out Speed Demon, which used to be the Wizard, the villainous Wizard. And there's his dad, having a hard time making ends meet. There is the White Rabbit hanging out. I just love that. Those fluffy boots. Cobra. Hey, what are you doing? Let me come with you. And he lands in front of his dad. His dad is among the thugs. Let me go back. Yeah, he gets hooked up with these thugs, and doesn't that sound just delightful, Mr. Patilio? Yeah, delightful. So they're mixed in on the opposite sides of the law. And God, I love this storytelling. Kerry Gamble's so great. Crash. And she gets bonked on the head by this guy named Roger, who's a friend of Peter Parker's. And it turns out his dad shows up, but he was wearing a wire. So he gets the reward money, but they decided to split it between he and his son and this friend of Peter Parker's who was falling on hard times financially. So everybody has a smile. Here, then here's to us. Into the Fabulous Frogman. He would show up later in the DeFalco Friends run of Spider-Man, and it was just as funny. Now, here we go to Thor, baby Thor. Very late in Kirby's run. A year later, he will have gone. There may be an issue 2 held over, but for those on the know, there were times where he was going to create more new characters for Marvel, and his wife Roz said, you've created so many characters for Marvel, you're kind of giving them everything you have. Why don't you hold back on some of your ideas and just just keep working, but just don't create anything new? And Kirby took it to heart, and that's how we got the New Gods. They could have easily have been in Marvel, which would have been really interesting, but it was for the best that it got separated because it was a whole new storyline. It was sort of based on after Ragnarok, and then there was a new beginning, which is where the New Gods are starting. So beautiful cover. Now you could tell in this era Kirby's kind of banging it out. I mean, with the big splash pages, and I don't blame him because he's trying to work on his DC stuff. But and big splash pages and I don't want to say wasteful panels by Kirby are better than most people's full pages. Vinnie Coletta still on the art, and great image of Pluto. You got a costume change, pink and purple's nifty. And here comes some nasty ass toad type creatures. What are they? And you've got Carnilla and Balder and their unrequited love. There's Big Daddy Odin hanging out. Now, I mean, you see this. He's doing 3 panels a page, and it's all big shots and easy shots for him, not for others. His stuff still reads magnificently. I would have liked to have not seen Vince do those fingers. They're just kind of, I don't know, too wispy. So, and like this does not really call for a splash page. Although it's cool. Oh. So, Vinny's still committing the sin of taking these elaborate buildings that you will see in Fantastic Four, painstakingly inked by Joe Sinnott, and he makes them into crossword puzzles. And that's a friggin' shame. That's a friggin' shame. Pisses me off. All kinds of fun. I love multicolor panels like that to indicate like a distance from characters from one another. What's interesting about that, this face of Zeus, or it almost looks like something from the New Gods. It looks like his style had changed to a statuesque kind of I don't want to say stiffness, but just like a statue. Just really cool stuff that he evolved into. So you're seeing him. Another splash page, like 4 or 5 so far, but it's pretty. I like he leaps over everybody, and the army's like, get out of here, blam blam blam. So cool. And Pluto's like, Zeus shows up, takes him away, and meanwhile, some new character shows up. But the few new characters show up are generally not great ones. There's one guy named Cronus Crag. He's like this millionaire mortal who has no powers, and it's just ridiculous. Look at that armor. Actually, no. Yeah, the cocoon must open. Okay, that's Adam Warlock, everybody. Yeah, this is the first. Next issue is the first appearance. And then I think that was like one of the last things that he did for Marvel. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure. And he, like I said, he gave him a couple crappy villains towards the end, similarly to the Fantastic Four. But yeah, I sold my issues with the Adam Warlock, the first 2, for pretty good on eBay because it was right after Guardians of the Galaxy 2, and I thought, oh, it's going to be, they were going to hype it, but then there was a big delay with issue 3 for a ton of reasons. And then he showed up. So I'm glad I sold it when I did. Anyway, that's it. I love comics. And if you're on this channel, you like comics, do. Okay, everybody. Bye.